Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome on back to Game 3 between First Departure and Phoenix. We're going to be taking a look at this one. I'm Lyrical Dota, joined today by Danny Lee Cass as well as Corrupt Drop Bear on the stats. I'm really excited about this one. Danny, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts? Who are you hoping is going to be able to really come out here with this one? We shouldn't be biased, actually, so I'm not going to ask you that last question.
That's what I was gonna say. I was thinking, do you really want to be biased? Because you have to understand that Twitch chat is very, very against biasness. So you get a small group of people that will support you, and then you get the rest of the world that's gonna start hating on you because you're teamist.
Yeah.
So let's be neutral here and say we want both teams to win. Honestly, for me, I think just having underdogs win, it's a little bit more enjoyable because you get a fresh style of play. You get new players, you get new styles of Dota coming through. So I think I know I shouldn't be biased, but just underdogs in general. Come
Okay,
on.
we'll
Let's
not
support
say
the
who it
underdogs.
is. I will
Okay.
also mention, you know who's really going to win this time? It's the viewers. They're really going to be who wins. That's the real answer. But we see the Winter Wyvern taken first overall, as well as the Io Tiny and the Juggernaut. To be banned out, we're going to not be having the Dazzle this time around, or the Alchemist Slardar Tusk. And a couple other heroes here. Mr. Doom, actually wait until the second phase to be banning him out. You know, this is something that I really love about this patch, is that we saw at the beginning, everybody's like, all right, Doom's completely and totally OP and broken. Let's ban him out every single game. And now it turned into another situation where it was mainly offlaners. You saw Slardar banned every single time, as well as the Tusk. And then a second, third rotation, honestly, into being these defensive supports that are prioritized. Winter Wyvern and Dazzle probably be two of the very strongest heroes in the game, just based off of what they're able to bring to the team that absolutely no other heroes are able to bring to the scene. And I just think it's really cool to be able to have multiple different iterations of metas being drawn out throughout the course of a patch.
It's lovely because you get more diversity, right? Because you see different styles of Dota all the time, and it's fresh. It's better than just seeing one style all the time. Like, yeah, let's face it. There are going to be some heroes that will be there forever. They will always be banned. They will always be picked. But then fresher faces do manage to come on through as well. So with this, Phoenix in the meantime though, looks like they're going to go back to last game, straight to the Tiny Wisp again. But this time they're going to have a Wind Ranger to complement their draft. So they have split push, they have team fight, they have a very, very strong mid as well, who not going to completely synergize with the Tiny Wisp, but she does her role well, and she's going to be able to work around the Tiny Wisp. Lots of late game potential for Phoenix.
Yeah, definitely. I'm almost a little bit wondering now if this is going to be a Tiny in the safe lane, then you end up seeing the Wind Ranger mid. You can kind of run them whichever way you want, but more often than not, we do end up seeing Tiny IO mid. That being said, more often than not, we end up seeing Wind Ranger mid. So who's to know? It's not a combo that you often see, as you alluded to. The thing I kind of like about this, though, is Wind Ranger is such a great hero for being able to set up kills with the relocate on in. Particularly if you end up seeing her get a pretty early blink dagger, you blink on in, you lay on down a shackle shot, immediately follow it up with the relocate Avatos combo, and whoever is there is going to end up going down. In response, we do end up seeing the bounty hunter taken, and that's going to be able to create that extra little bit of vision, make sure that they know what's going on, throw out the shuriken, it bounces around everywhere, it's just lovely. And an earth shaker now also for the Phoenix, so trying to pick up a little bit more of those stuns. Picks are coming fast and furious. Haven't seen this guy in a while.
Well, he still does his job. He still does his job well, but he's not as strong as a lot of other offlaners that we typically see. So Batrider, he's going to be able to isolate that one hero, but I'm a little bit worried about this Batrider pick. There's so much on the side of Phoenix that's able to not just prevent the hero from dying, but to also intercept the Batrider, that I'm not too sure if this is going to be quite the game for First Departure to really run a Batrider. You've got a Wisp that could be there to tether onto the target that gets caught out. You have an Earthshaker with the Fissure Wind Ranger who, if she gets that early blink, she can go in for a shackle shot as well. Yeah. So Batrider, it can work, but they have to be very aware of these heroes that Phoenix are running.
Definitely. It's a really strange pick here also, just because, I mean, you want to be able to obviously isolate the Tiny, and I think that makes sense, but you have multiple ways to be able to keep them alive, and they take a Viper as a last pick. Oh, goodness gracious. This is looking to be a very scary draft indeed out of Phoenix. And the first game, I liked their draft a little bit more. The second game, I really liked their draft a lot more. This game, I'm going to reserve judgments, at least for the second here. But again, we might be running into a situation where we don't have enough damage out of First Departure, at least so far. You've got Winter Wyvern, who's
Ten
great for the
seconds
return
remaining.
counter initiation in terms of Winter's Curse. Juggernaut is also pretty good, but we've
Five
ended up seeing
seconds
him go for
remaining.
Battle Furies a lot more often, which is also pretty great for being able to apply the cleave damage during an Omni
Control
Slash.
time.
But again, if you don't have a lot of damage there at the start, this mid game, it's a pushing mid game strat that you're seeing here out of Phoenix. This is what this lineup is built to do: get early items up on these heroes, roam around the mid lane with the Earthshaker, and they end up going for a Weaver last pick. Very interesting.
What does Weaver bring in for first departure that's going to benefit this game? So let's take a look at Weaver as a hero in general. What does he bring to the table? He's incredibly mobile. It's quite difficult to lock down. So if you don't have the lockdown there to keep a Weaver in place, he can be a nuisance. But he's not really that high impact of a hero, right? He doesn't bring damage to the table very, very early on. He's annoying. He's good at pickoffs, but Weaver doesn't really come online until about 20 minutes worth of decent farm, maybe 30 minutes if he doesn't have that well of a time.
Yeah, and also the other thing here is like, if he ends up going for anything other than a Lincoln's, he is just going to die. Like, you take a look at the lineup here out of Phoenix. They have so much ability to catch. You've got an Earthshaker Fissure, which obviously isn't blocked by Lincolns, but still it can set stuff up. You've got a Wind Ranger being able to have, an instant jump on in there with the Shackle Shot and catch him out. Also, the Avalanche Toss combo that comes in. It all just feels like there's so much damage that's going to be leveled against this hero. He needs to be really, really on point with making sure he doesn't get caught out of position. And then he's not very tanky also. So if he ends up having to go for a Lincoln's first, now you end up having maybe a Lincoln's first Weaver with a Juggernaut going for Battle Fury. How are you going to be able to keep these heroes off? Like, you're going to need to commit 5 heroes to a gank to kill off a Tiny, particularly if there's an IO nearby to be able to keep them alive. And oftentimes some of the other things that you might end up seeing to be able to deal with the IO is just to, orchid him up or, silence him so that way he can't end up trying to keep somebody alive. But I just don't know. I'm not sure about their ability this game. I really am concerned for first departures draft, and if they end up losing this one, they will be departing in the first rounds. That's a pretty nice little part there too.
Yeah, I think so as well. So it's not just the Weaver issue though. I think the synergy. What's the synergy for first departure?
I,
I don't really see a definitive plan with their draft. I guess like the biggest thing is for pick off, but the Weaver
mhm.
last pick really throws everything on its head.
I guess that maybe what they're hoping is, I bet what it's going to be is that they're going to end up trying to chance it with the Weaver, go for a Deso, have the Weaver split pushing, and then you get pickoffs, like you said. Maybe leave Winter Wyvern in a lane to try and, tossing out those Splinter Blasts when you get to the later stages. That way the lanes can keep pushed out. Um, but it definitely seems very hard. And they're going to rely a lot upon the track gold to get them back into this game. It's a lot of things that need to go right and only a few things that need to go wrong, and first departure are going to end up losing. So we'll see how this ends up going. I feel like Phoenix's draft is the easier to execute by far.
Yeah.
You really don't need a lot to be able to make this work. I mean, Viper is kind of the perfect example of that type of hero. It does look like we're going to be in a little bit of a scuffle here for this first rune.
Bounty Hunter will scout it out though, so the rest of his team is going to be completely aware of these Phoenix heroes in the high ground. Is there a sentry ward on any of them? No, so there's going to be no random sentry ward placement to catch out the bounty. So I think for now, Bounty will be very happy with just scouting everything out. Weaver in the tree line though, and Bite Rider, he is waiting in the wings. Now they don't. Did they catch vision of him? They did ping him out, I believe, with the
He has the
Viper.
Viper, and
Yeah.
that means that they're going to be willing to go on up to this top rune. And it looks like Bounty is going to be there to try and secure off the early Bounty rune himself. And if he's able to get this is actually a pretty nice little pick-off. It's always a bit of a tense moment there. Who's got the faster fingers? And I think that they realize that this guy is right here, standing on top of it, going for the hit. That's going to be there, but Io ends up picking up the Bounty rune. Nicely done there, as he's going to be able to walk away.
Yeah, unfortunate for the bounty. If he did get it, I think it would have hurt JYC quite a bit with that bottle timing. So mission failure, unfortunately. Earthshaker is going to be spotting out the Wyvern, it seems, who wanted to try and go for a high ground ward, but didn't quite get to put it down as they saw the Earthshaker coming back. So it would have been a quick D-ward if he did put that down. So Bounty going to stick around the mid lane for the little bit as Mikasa, Miracle, going to be playing a Juggernaut in the mid lane this time. Up against a Tiny Wisp. Jug should do relatively well in this lane. He can get picked off, but if he's on point with the Battle Fury timing, sorry, the Blade Fury timings, and he should be absolutely fine and shouldn't really be taking too much damage from this Tiny Wisp combo.
Sorry everybody about the overlay. I just ended up switching it back over. There's a 2-minute
Oh
delay on
no!
stream, so don't worry though. You didn't miss a whole heck of a lot. Just ended up trading off those runes, and obviously you get to look at the wonderful artwork of the fine folks over there, the overlay production studios. So mid-juggernaut, kind of an interesting little way to have that happen. Always fun to see this as people are just loving the overlay there in chat. It's so good. Purpose mid lane Tiny ended up working out for him pretty well last time around, and yours truly up in the top lane. Off lane Wind Ranger is going to get jumped on a little bit here by the Wyvern as well as the Weaver, but Wind Runaway is always going to keep her safe.
So Phoenix ran the Tiny Wisp last game, and it did work to quite a success, right? So with this game, let's just do a quick comparison between last game and this game. Last game, let's be honest, Phoenix did not have the best early game. They went for a lot of commitment for early game pressure, and they didn't really have the best start. They got a minus on the Tiny, which was great. That helped him really farm up his items. So if Phoenix plays like that, with quite a difficult early game, what happens if Phoenix gets a really good early game this game? Do they just completely demolish First Departure?
That's kind of what it seems like. It's sort of one of those situations where if you get a little bit too far out in the lead here, you end up picking up a quick mechanism maybe on the Viper if that's the route that he wants to go this game. I mean, normally you end up thinking about a Viper in the safe lane. You want to get a couple of items, but also if he just ends up getting enough farm and they go for the mechanism, they can group up and push and do a lot of damage very swiftly. So got to be careful with that. It is also worth knowing that Viper doesn't have the best turn rate in the world, and being able to level the sticky napalm on top of him, that kind of makes it even worse. So really, really needs to be careful in this matchup that he doesn't end up getting caught out there by the Bat Rider.
Yeah, so Cal on the Bat Rider so far is looking pretty good for CS. He's actually ahead of the Viper, and it's just because he's able to really harass it out with the sticky napalm. The turn rate really hurts, and Bounty's going to be coming in as well. Not really the best chance of killing Viper. If they push out the creep wave a little bit more and maybe get a jump onto Hehe's, I think that'll be the best chance of First Departure in getting a kill. Because Earthshaker, he's just sitting duck really if he gets jumped on.
Yeah, definitely. And very, very careful. You need to be really sure of your positioning, and that's the other thing that people don't often talk about with Viper is the fact that while he is going to be able to do a good amount of damage and can chase really effectively, oh, he's going to get jumped on here. Now Janata is going to be initiated. There's also going to be the sticky napalm as well as the Firefly away. First blood up in the top lane though as they ended up diving on in here deep. A couple of potential for kills. Bottom lane still chasing on out of here. Bounty Hunter might end up going down. It does look like Weaver is going to not be able to get that kill on the Wisp, and Viper just barely able to make it out of there. So first blood going up on the top lane as the Wind Ranger goes down. Almost able to get it here bottom lane as the Bounty Hunter ends up denying himself to the creep, not wanting to take that long walk back to base.
Yeah. So meanwhile, that was all and well in the mid lane. Tiny up against the Jug. Miracle's doing very well, and this is the advantage of running that Juggernaut in the mid lane. He has a bottle which is going to be some nice sustain for him, but he has the added bonus of having the healing ward. So for Phoenix, this mid lane Jug, he's never going to run out of HP. He's always going to be able to come back to full, and it means that killing Miracle, there's a small window of opening for them to try and get the kill, but it's not the best chance. So if they get lucky, then that's great. If not, then that's bad. Or the Purpose going to go for the toss back onto Mikasa. The Avalanche is going to be there as well. I think, unfortunately for Miracle, getting a little bit ahead of himself, thinking he was going to be safe with the spin. Yeah, toss still goes through the magic immunity. So Miracle going to be aware of that now as he gets picked off.
Yeah, I think that he just overstayed his welcome a little bit too long, thinking he was going to be able to toss on out that thing, the healing ward as well, to keep him alive. But as you mentioned, Toss going through that magical immunity, able to find the kill, and now Tiny, happy as a clam, is just going to move on back in here, continue to last hit against the Winter Wyvern, which is probably a little bit of an easier test than against Juggernaut. But Purpose needs to be careful with the Bounty Hunter hanging out over here. They did end up catching sight of him. They're going to jump forward again, just going to Blade Fury a little bit more for posterity, and thinking about diving this one. Omni Slash has been committed now. Purpose ends up tossing out the Avalanche. Unfortunately, that one did not connect, so wasn't able to find the kill. On the background also, it looks like Bounty Hunter was able to get one right click off on Purpose, the Orb of Venom being committed for that, and now as they're going to end up bottle crowing, Purpose heads back to base, but 3 heroes still committed here to the mid, and this is given a lot of space down here in the bottom lane as Viper ends up killing off the Bat Rider at the very end of that. So you end up giving a lot of space to your side lanes, and now Viper getting a lot of farm. Let's take a look in terms of the net worth. And yeah, you're seeing that, while the Weaver's been able to do pretty good getting that first blood up there in the top lane, it's still a relatively precarious situation for FD.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things with First Departure as well is when you run a bounty hunter, you want to be very aggressive in your lanes. You want to be consistently there with the Janatas to help set up for those ganks. And the thing was that they spent so much time in the mid lane with 3 heroes, a bounty hunter plus 2. They weren't able to get the kills. He was there for 1 Janata hit, but then that was about it. And that not just wasted Bounty Hunter's time, but it also sapped a little bit of the EXP away from Miracle in the mid lane. So it ended up being a much bigger loss than it would have been to First Departure, because also the Bounty Hunter's suffering because he's only level 3. Bounty needs that level 6 as soon as possible. So if he was level 4 at this point, he'd be very happy, as it would have been a very good timing. Heavy commitment, as they're going to be killing off these creeps that have been stacked up. Not immensely though, so not a huge loss for Phoenix, but they are going to spot out the Bat Rider, but on the high ground, can't really catch him out, but it looks like they're going to try and salvage as much as possible with Purpose. Sitting in the Firefly, although they might lose his life, Lasso's there as well. I think this is a massive trap for First Departure. They get the kill onto the tiny Shackle Shots there. They have Vision of Bounty as he has no mana. Shackle Shot connects onto both, so clutch. They can't catch Cal though. So they get a Bounty Hunter kill, they lose the tiny, and they lose a whole creep, like a massive amount of creeps. Phoenix, that was just not the play.
Yeah, now we end up having Juggernaut here as well. He might have overstayed his welcome slightly, though. Ends up getting the Fissure tossed out on top of him. Isn't going to be blocked off there by the Fissure, unfortunately. And now the Healing Ward ends up getting picked off. Nice play there by the IO. I think that he still does go down here. They have another power shot, which is going to connect. Omni Slash turning around, doing a lot of damage, but not able to pick off the Wisp. So really good collection there. I don't know if he thought that he was going to be able to find that one. Regardless, not going to quite be the play. 600 gold swing back the way of Phoenix. This again has left a lot of room up top as Weaver is able to take on down the tier 1 tower. Going for another kill down bottom as Viper is able to get picked off again by the Bat Rider, despite, I believe, the 3 points in the corrosive skin as well as 1 in the ulti. He hasn't been able to stay alive down here. Just not enough of an escape mechanism for that Viper.
So it seems that for First Departure, Cal is doing a lot of work for the team. He's the one that's consistently being aggressive. He's looking for kills, and the Bat Rider pick, which we were a little bit skeptical about, is that was really working out. The castle in the mid lane there has been tossed back by Purpose. Is very low to be dumped on by a Weaver who's under the cover of Sakuchi. Gets the ultimate off though, so he won't go down. They don't get the kill onto the tiny, which is huge for First Departure. They really needed it. Shackle Shot does not connect onto anything. It will keep him in place for a little bit longer, but for Phoenix, no kills going in their way, but the same can be said for First Departure. No kills for them.
Well, bottom lane, Bounty Hunter is going to be able to take this rune away from the Wisp and then turn back around. A couple quick right clicks. That's going to be enough for a kill. Following it up with the Shuriken toss. And Wisp ends up going down. Very, very fighty game so far, this one. And Purpose is getting relatively low. Needs to be careful there before he ends up going down. Also worth noting that in the area was the Juggernaut. They have this very nicely placed ward up here on the high ground, which was able to scout on out the stacks and also able to keep eyes on the tiny just in case they wanted to jump on top of them. Also worth noting the wards in the jungle by the Radiant have been noticing these rotations, and it's just been kind of a weird battle for the jungle, and it relatively left alone is going to be the Dire jungle, which hasn't been stacked on up or really fought after. Fissure not going to connect onto the Juggernaut as he just walks away, and maybe going to be trading out towers here as we continue to see FD take a little bit of advantage in this one. Weaver's starting to pay off a little bit. He is the top of the CS, and now Bounty Hunter going to run on into the Earthshaker and the Viper, but no vision in this area. Actually, you do end up spotting out the Bat Rider. Nice little connection there. One right click is going to connect onto him, but not going to be able to find that kill.
So now for Phoenix, it looks like they're sort of confined into a small space. They're a little afraid of getting caught out by the Bat Rider, who has the lasso and is very close to a Blink Dagger as well. So considering that Bat Rider has not been 100% farming, to get a Blink Dagger at this timing is very good for Cal. So good news for First Departure. They're getting their items. Their Initiator is coming online very shortly. Is this where First Departure goes for that hyper-aggressive style of play where they consistently look for kills when lasso is off cooldown?
It seems like they might, but we're going to have a bit of an initiation here in the mid lane as we do end up seeing the Juggernaut get tossed up one time. Healing Ward now committed. They are going to be able to have the Weaver come on in now. This might be a little bit of overstepping their bounds. Bugs are on top of all three of these heroes, and it looks like Io might be the first to fall. Toss on back again onto him, but the Omni Slash has now been committed. Three heroes just dead like that. They were completely and totally caught out as all of the rest of First Departure ended up roaming on into the Ancients and finding those really key kills. The offlaner as well as the mid hero and one of the supports all going down, and a huge gold swing also going to be able to take on out the tier 1 tower in the mid lane. Oh man, actually First Departure, despite the fact that we didn't think they were going to be able to group up and do as much early, they're showing that they're capable of it. It's just these quick small skirmishes, not the big 5-man team fights. And also, again, Tiny ends up going for this Midas in this point where I felt like maybe he was going to end up going for more of a fighty build and might end up getting caught also now that they have this really nice ward vision in the area. Are they going to be able to find him though? That's the question that I have. Not able to get into range of Winter's Curse, and Purpose just walks away yet again.
So what's the whole idea behind grabbing this Midas on Tiny? Because the hero farms very, very quickly on his own just with the combo. Is it just so it speeds up his farm even more, so if he falls behind and maybe dies 2 to 3 times, he comes back? Because that's what we got from last game. But I feel like this Midas is, I don't know, it just feels a little bit wasted on Tiny.
Maybe it's the levels. That's the only other thing that I can think about, but
that's true.
It doesn't seem incredibly strong to me. It ended up working for him in the last game though, so can't knock it till you try it, I guess. Apparently it's the thing that they need to do. It does look like now Viper is going to be building into that mechanism. I like this build here, but I think again it's kind of as we do end up seeing the courier going down in just a second. Bounty Hunter ends up taking that one off, but it did already deliver the buckler. Meanwhile, mid lane they end up getting the Avatos combo down on top of the Weaver. That was an Echo Slam committed for that to make sure that they ended up getting the kill. Might have been a little bit of an overkill in terms of what they were needing to find that. But regardless, Weaver does go down there in the mid lane. But I think that that's probably the best pickup there for the Viper. But I talked about like the difference in terms of the ideas for what they want to do, because Tiny is trying to scale well into the late game by picking up the Midas and ensure his late game farm through somewhat of an unorthodox way. And then you have Viper going for the mechanism, which isn't going to help his farm at all. It just helps for being able to group together and take fights. So what I don't know, it just seems like they're kind of on different pages.
Maybe they're sort of preparing for a little bit of everything, so if they have to fight early, then at least they have a mechanism to fall back to.
Yeah.
It's not cost efficient, let's be honest. If you go for one plan, then you know to funnel all your gold into that single plan, but going for a mechanism like this, it's a jack of all trades sort of style that they're playing. It can work out, but it depends on whether or not First Departure goes into that style. And I think for the most part, they don't have to, because they know their late game is... Would you say First Departure has the better late game than Phoenix? If you go into a super late game scenario, Earthshaker gets a kill into the Bounty Hunter, which was a very nice dust. Well,
as far as the late game goes, they were able to spot him out there. I'm not sure how they knew he was on him, but I kind of don't like their late games against Phoenix. I think that Weaver is somewhat of a wild card. It's going to depend on his itemization, because normally you end up seeing that Desolator picked up on him, which isn't necessarily like the strongest late game item in the world. Obviously he can build on into the data list and stuff, and he does have essentially a crit built into him and can proc on 2 items. But I think that IO Tiny is always a wild card in the late game that can just, you win the game just through being able to superiorly out-rat the opponents. It does look like they're going to be trying to defend this though, and here in the area we do have Viper not quite with the mechanism. They're going to be able to commit a Winter's Curse on top of this. There's going to be the Bat Rider able to hit onto him, but I think that Viper might, no, he's definitely going to go down now, no way, and maybe they end up going here for the Earthshaker as well. Bounty Hunter dropping pretty low. The Winter's Curse was committed as IO drops pretty low. Avalanche unfortunately not going to connect onto that one. Two-man shackle as yours truly comes on in, but Bounty Hunter picks off the IO, and it looks like everybody from Phoenix might end up going down. They toss out the Fissure, but to what end? Hehez is going to end up getting tracked up and killed, now chasing after the Wind Ranger. Weaver is there for a couple of right clicks. Nice Wind Run away. The burn has been committed also, and I think Wind Ranger might be able to get out of this. They don't have the ability to chase completely. No Omni Slash for the moment. There's going to be another Bat Rider sticking Napalm committed. Flame Break back. Nice. This actually might be the moment where they're going to be able to find that kill. Another couple of right clicks as well as the Blade Fury forward, and she does finally fall. The chase for 10,000 miles. And it looks like Juggernaut's just going to be able to TP away right in the face of that Viper as they get nothing from that engagement.
Radiant's bottom tower is
Moments
under
like that
attack.
when you wish the Viper had the mechanism. If he had the mech, I think the Wind Ranger would have been able to survive. But unfortunately, they chased for so long, and even in their base,
Oof.
15 minutes in, you're losing a Wind Ranger in your own base. Not really the
Yeah.
position that you really want to be in. But already we're seeing the weakness of this Midas Tiny again. Because Midas Tiny, he doesn't have the best stats, he can still be bursted down, has a Blink Dagger this game though, so he's not going for the Ags Tiny this time, gonna go for Blink. Much more aggressive style of Tiny, but I think he needs the stats this game. It's great to have the mobility, but there's a curse you have to survive, there's a lasso, there's an Omni Slash. There's a lot of damage sources and control that Tiny has to survive. And for him to make this Blink work, he needs the pickoffs, but pickoffs are not really going in the way of Phoenix this game.
Well, and it's constantly seeming like First Departure are responding well when there's been a fight coming around. They're all going to be able to be there. They're all in the proper positioning. Viper is going to move forward here a little bit, but needs to be careful. Honestly, if they wanted to, Omni Slash was going to be up pretty soon. They might have been able to take that. Probably not, but it's not worth it to go that much further. I just... And we've been harping a lot on the Hand of Midas for the Tiny ended up working last game. We do end up having to relocate forward. Oh, God, that was really unfortunate. It was mid-cast animation there. I think the Avalanche Toss is going to finally find it, but that was a little bit crazy that almost didn't end up working out. Time-lapse one more time. Toss is going to connect. There's going to be the Shackle, not going to be finished off. Io ends up going back on his own. Are they actually going to be able to turn this one back around? We do have the mechanism up on the Bounty Hunter. Can he get there in time to be able to save off the Weaver? I think that they maybe can do this. If they wanted to turn this back around, Io isn't there. Oh God, the gank went terribly wrong. Purpose is going to end up getting Winter's Curse up. They end up fireflying forward with the Bat Rider. They're going to bring them all together now. Purpose dropping low. They're trying to take out the bounty. He still hasn't used mech, 4 stick charges, and that's going to be a lot of damage on top of him, but I think they get out of this. There is finally the mechanism turning it. Can they get this kill on the Viper? God, I can't believe that this gank started like that, and it goes so wrong. Bounty Hunter is going to be able to bottle through the corrosive skin alive on 18 HP, and now they have the sustain with the healing ward. Oh, First Departure. Things going right for them.
That was so clutch. If the Weaver did not have as much HP as he did, if he didn't have the ultimate orb, that would have been the end for the Weaver, but he managed to survive for long enough to get the time lapse off, was able to get on that through, and obviously when you time lapse you get rid of the dust because it was before, obviously cast before, and with that detection, Phoenix can't really deal with the Weaver. They don't have all the disable in the world to deal with him. So this Weaver pickup, it's slowly paying off for First Departure, and as the game progresses, Weaver's going to be so elusive that I don't think there's enough disable on Phoenix to really keep him in place, and they want to keep on going as the career gets slain by the Bounty Hunter. He's going to try and jump onto the Wisp as well. Track is there. Purpose, in the meantime, he has to keep his own life alive. Wisp looks like he might have to give his own life away. Purpose going to go for the turn, wants to jump onto the Weaver. Can he burst him down? The heal is there. Omni Slash in the back, so they're going to pick up the Earthshaker, spin right onto Purpose, and Viper in the backside, we chased down by a whole gang of angry heroes, and Wind Ranger going to try and jump into Mikasa here, but unfortunately actually gets pushed back a little bit, but looks like he might be able to get out of here. Tiny comes back in with the blink, gets the kill on the Weaver. Finally, Shackle does not land onto anybody, and the slow is going to be there, and they'll kill off Purpose as they focus down the Tiny instead. Or it'll survive. No, the HP isn't there as Mikasa finishes him off. And in the fountain again, 18 minutes into the game, and now the T3 is going to be under siege as First Departure, I think they get first place at this marathon.
Oh God, and Bounty Hunter is going to be able to get out of here. I think that they probably should back on out at this point. It's a little bit too deep for them to be going, but it just shows how comfortable they are with this. I mean, you had, like you said, literally the Juggernaut kill off the Tiny in their fountain at under 20 minutes into this game. And I want to go back again to that gank that ended up happening up in the top lane as we see Io and Bounty Hunter trade a couple of hits here. The Wind Ranger was mid-animation with that shackle shot onto the Io, and they couldn't get that one off, and they still ended up relocating forward. So it was just such a unfortunate combo there, because they wanted to be able to shackle immediately into relocate, and they just weren't able to do it because he Sakuchi'd right at the last second before they were able to get off the animation, and the kill doesn't end up coming cleanly. They still had the tier 1 tower top that they were able to TP everybody on into, and all in all, it didn't end up working out, and I think that was probably one of the defining moments. After that point, it's felt like every single team fight has gone First Departure's way. 14,000 net worth lead, experience lead of around 12k as well. And we're taking a look at the key items that are coming up on all of these heroes. Sanjin Yasha up on the Juggernaut. He's going to be building into, after that, I believe, maybe a Scotty. I feel like that's usually the build when you go stats on Jug. Bounty Hunter also can be building into a Guardian Greaves. Now he's just picking up the recipe and flying out to himself. We're going to see on this Weaver, he's going to be going for probably a Lincoln Sphere in a second now, already having the urn. They're just in such a great spot as we end up getting the Aegis now up on the Weaver. They're completely and totally ready to go.
I really don't see a way for First Departure to really lose this game unless they have a really, really bad team fight. So for Phoenix, the game is looking horribly for them. They're behind by so much. They need so many items to really come back into the game, and unfortunately for them, not in the same spot as last game where they were relatively even. They have fallen quite far behind, and we have Miracle looking for a kill with the invisibility rune, it seems. Omnislash is off cooldown. You can kill the Viper, it's fine. Obviously looking for a juicier target, but I think this is all he's going to be able to get. Unless he hangs on to it for now. Will show himself, so no Omnislash kills.
I mean,
so for Phoenix, what do they do now? Do they...
Well, one thing they need to do is get a Blink Dagger on Earthshaker. It's 20 minutes into it and they haven't found it yet, which isn't like the worst timing in the world, but it's not very good. And they can't really fight into this without that. Like, that spell, Echo Slam, being able to fight against high ground is so important for this lineup. They're doing the best that they can right over here with the IO Tiny, trying to do their split push game, but it's still a big ask for them to be able to solo that completely and totally on their own, as you have the rest of First Departure pushing on into the tier 2 tower here. It's just ridiculous. That being said, comebacks have been bigger than this before, as we do end up getting a jump forward. There's going to be the Flaming Lasso onto the Tiny. Guardian Greaves coming out. That's going to keep them a little bit longer. Nice relocate. Keeping alive their Tiny. That is going to be a dead IO in just a second or two, though. I believe they end up killing him as he ends up coming back here. No real way for him to get back alive, I don't imagine. But that's worth it to be able to keep your Tiny alive.
Yeah, I think at this point, just drag the game for as long as possible and hope that the Tiny's able to accumulate enough items so that he's in a similar position to last game. So that he's... For Phoenix, look honestly for them...
The Viper is.
Oh dear. Omnislash committed. Easy kill into the Viper. Mechanism or not, he was going to go down. For Phoenix, for them to come back, they're going to have to get items on both the Tiny and the Wind Ranger. And yours truly is not doing too bad for farm. He's got a lot of utility. He's going to be there for the catch. Still needs his own damage source. And that's quite a ways away for the Wind Ranger. Tiny's doing okay, but he's got a Midas. You got to be expecting some sort of farm going his way. High ground defense for Phoenix, how good do you think it is? I think it's okay, but it could be better if they get that blink on the Earthshaker.
Definitely. The other big problem, of course, that you have is that there's this Batrider that has a blink as well as a force and soon to be BKB. So as soon as there's an opportunity there for any type of vision, which they're going to be able to get through the Bounty Hunter onto the high ground, they're going to be able to jump forward. Also worth noting, they have this Observer Ward in the enemy fountain that they've had for roughly, 4 or 5 minutes so far. That's going to end up probably expiring before D-Ward, so that's kind of just a nice little part of that as well. It doesn't actually create the best vision in the world, but maybe they're going to be able to see somebody over there on the other side and at least know something of what's going on. That's not a spot that's usually D-Ward, as you do end up seeing the Flaming Lasso on top of the IO. They are going to kill off the Bounty Hunter from this, but can they get this kill? If they actually take out this Bounty Hunter, it's a nice, or excuse me, the Batrider, it's a good chunk of gold going their direction. One last right click is going to be able to finish them off, but that's 900 gold and the gem.
Oh, a purpose? Oh no, never mind, he's not going to die as the team was coming in his way. So First Departure, they're underestimating the damage output of the Tiny, thinking that the Bounty and the Bat was going to be enough, but then they lose the Bounty too quickly, and the Bat by himself up against a Tiny, you don't want to be anywhere near a hero like that. So it's a major win for Phoenix. That should not have happened. First Departure, I think that was just a little bit of cockiness. That really should not have happened. Purpose should put the gem back though, as I think he's about to die with it. Oh dear. Oh, Link's out.
Yeah, that's a good decision. If that attack ended up hitting onto him, he definitely would have been dead. It's still a 15,000 gold lead as well as 12,000 experience, and I don't really see them having the pieces to be able to come back into it as of yet. But again, as you said, a couple more sort of failed ganks like that, and you're going to end up being able to come back into this game. Viper now has been able to pick on up the mechanism a while ago, as we talked about. Io doesn't really have that much that's really sustaining him a ton. The Aghanim Scepter on Tiny is good, and he also has the Midas, which has allowed him to keep up and farm with the Juggernaut. It's worth noting that he really has been able to find his, his farm throughout this game, and is going to be building into what looks to be a Manta next. just wants to be able to, create that extra bit of initiation or extra bit of damage coming out from him. Split pushing ability also. I think that's probably the biggest thing, is just that he can leave those on towers and right click them down. But also, we talk about how deadly the split push game is from an IO Tiny. They have only taken one tier 1 tower, and they are not really looking to be in a position to be able to take any more. So I'm, as we've talked about, very, very concerned.
The game is still being stalled out there. I think that was the major thing for Phoenix. They still have a chance to farm, they're still getting items, and it could be this small glimmer of hope for them. Aegis has just been expired as well for First Departure, so really no way that they want to go high ground without it. They could if they want to, but there's a high risk of them losing more than they bargained for. So I think at this point, First Departure, just keep on farming, keep bullying Phoenix back into their lane, get ahead, wait for the next Roche, and then from that point on, they can just try and push up high ground and see what they can get. I would like to see the Deso pick up, and it looks like it is going to be picked up on the Weaver very shortly, and that will speed up the tower pushing process for First Departure.
Yeah, definitely. And Juggernaut's getting pretty large as well. Oh my god, 15k net worth, like 99.2. Yeah, it's a pretty big, almost insurmountable lead. But as we said, that 0.8% though, that's what it's all about. So you end up having a TP back again. Probably, as we end up already getting that Orb of Venom, it's going to end up being a Scotty on this Juggernaut. They're chasing here after the Earthshaker, seeing if they can be able to find their possibility. That's going to be an IO relocate on in with the Tiny, turning around, trying to chase on in after this Bounty Hunter, or excuse me, the Bat Rider. That is going to be a kill onto the IO, I believe. And now with no way out of here, Purpose is going to end up going down. Another 2 quick kills for the Bat Rider as he ends up chasing further. They are tracked up now on this Earthshaker. Are they going to be able to break the TP, not getting into range? Unfortunately for the Shuriken, because of the nice fissure. And now chasing after the Viper, I don't think they find this kill, but a 2,200 gold swing, and it looks like the potential, at least, for taking racks, as there's no buyback on this Tiny.
And they don't know that either, so the moment they hit the town, they realize there's no buyback. They're just going to go completely ham. Shackle, so she does land onto Mikasa as well as that creep, but it's just going to slow down the push. It's not really going to be doing too much, and now the damage is going to be thrown out onto this tower. Phoenix, they've got 26 seconds to stall this out, but they just don't have the best heroes when it comes to defending high ground. You've got an Earthshaker that can fissure it up, that's fine. Wind Range doesn't really do too much. Viper's not the best high ground defense as well, so spells are being spammed. Is it going to be enough though? First T3 of the game is going to be taken down by First Departure. We're very happy about that now. 7 seconds left on the Tiny. This is very risky now. There's no Aegis. If anything latches here for Phoenix, they could potentially get some very important hero kills. But the Rax is under siege as the melee Rax almost gone. Phoenix, where's the initiation? Purpose is here, blinks forward, gets only one avalanche, but onto the onto the Weaver, who gets the ult off, so it really doesn't matter for him as he's able to get out. Rax has been taken, the fight is there, straight onto the Viper, who's not the best target, but he was the closest one. And they should be able to get the kill onto the Viper. No, Viper's going to be able to get out safely because of the Wisp relocate, and Purpose just hitting bugs at this point, and the rest of his team, they're being kited around by all these spells by First Departure. They're just walking all over these heroes, and Relocate's going to be there as well as the Viper and Wisp get into the fight. Shackle finally lands. They get one hero. That's going to be the Weaver. Can they get any more? Winter's Curse be connecting onto Hihi, who's the Earthshake, but he's pretty tanky. Now Mikasa in the middle of the fray, wants to try and jump onto these heroes at Purpose, trying to turn around and fight, but there's the Shackle, lands onto Mikasa and a creep again. Can they finish off these heroes? They're trying to turn. Purpose being hit by the Omni Slash. It's going to completely latch onto the Wind Ranger, but Purpose too slow to do anything. Toss back. They will end up losing the Tiny. Buybacks are going to have to be there as Earthshaker going to go down. Buybacks are bit by Viper and Wind Ranger, but with no damage items, they can't finish these heroes off. They only got the Weaver kill, and they still lose their Rax. They're still going to lose another Rax. I think this is it for Phoenix. The gas is out.
Oh my goodness, they're just tearing through them. There's not really enough to be able to have any type of reasonable sustain against this. We talked about the Scotty pickup by the Juggernaut. It came to him in the middle of that fight. Potentially you end up seeing the Courier get picked off, and it doesn't go like this, but at 2,500, nice Shackle there. They're going to be able to cold embrace him though, and that's the power of being able to have the Winter Wyvern up against the Wind Ranger. Io is going to go down there. Juggernaut gets the kill. Yours truly dropping so quickly as all of the damage is piling up. Another kill here. Killing spree for the Winter Wyvern, and somehow the Juggernaut survives throughout all of it with that healing ward going to town. Everybody's dead right now, and you're going to see them just play the safer route, going back for the tier 3 top. They can sustain against this, no problem. Earthshaker still does not have a Blink Dagger and is not going to be in a position to be able to make any type of meaningful Echo Slam as the melee barracks is about to fall. The Deso is all up, and I think that this might end up being the end here for Phoenix, who ended up looking good in the second game. They were really putting and showing their stuff throughout it, but Not quite enough damage in this draft. Not quite enough ability to. Interesting item decisions as well. All in all, I think they put up a good showing as the Avatos combo does end up going down on top of the Juggernaut, but the Winter Curse to interrupt all of that damage, and Purpose is starting to fall pretty quickly. Craggy Exterior is going to be able to create a little bit of time for him to stay alive, but GG ends up getting called as the rest of Phoenix ends up dying. Take a look at the net worth at the end of all of it. 35,000 experience and net worth lead. Huge turnaround there, and First Departure are going to be moving on in this tournament.
So for a lot of people, this is pretty much to be expected, but I wasn't expecting Phoenix being able to come back in that game 2 scenario. I think for Phoenix, for them to win one game, it was a surprise for a lot of people.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Well, thank you guys very much for watching. It is currently, I think, 7 a.m. where I am in the morning, so I'm going to probably head off to bed. Daily Cast, you are currently in actually a Southeast Asian region, so you're probably a little bit more awake than I am.
It's 11 p.m. It's pretty good right now.
Awesome. Well,
that's good.
We'll be back later on. I believe there are more games that are going on tomorrow. I'll link everything in chat, so have no fear if you guys want to know where to catch more of this Southeast Asian Beyond the Summit series. That's where we're going to be able to link a little bit of info there, and of course also on the website it's going to be there, which I will link in chat also. Thank you guys again at Lyrical Dota, at Danielle E. Casts, as well as Corrupt Dropped Bear on the stats. So it's been a pleasure. Any final thoughts before we sign out here?
We got Miracle Dota.
Woo!
Woo! All right, guys. GG, well played.
Adios.